Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we discuss new bids coming in for Manchester United and preview another cup game for Manchester United where we're going to be playing West Ham United in the FA Cup. And to be honest with you, we really should be going to Wembley again if we can avoid Man City. I really do not. I mean, I don't see the way United are playing at the moment, and I'm not being arrogant, I just can't see any other team. I know it's not the quarterfinals yet, but there's only really Man City left in the tournament apart from us. So really, if we can avoid Man City at the Etihad before the semi-finals, we'll be going to Wembley again. I really think so. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But before we get into that, and that's how I'd line up, but you're only going to see that for a moment because I'm going to come back to this screen. It's good to be back. Just Keevan says, I love bold men. I think I know where that's coming from. I'll tell you what, I'm actually starting to come back to the world of the living. I think after last night, I was a little bit drunk and my head was a little bit hazy this morning, but I actually feel relatively quite good after a walk there. So we're back in it. We're back in the game. And I think Manchester United are going to be back in the game with this West Ham match as well. But look, I want to start off first of all. Mike Keegan's been very good about the Qatar bid, especially. He's been giving an update tonight, so we'll start off with that because it's quite big news. But one thing I didn't get to say last night, and purposely sort of left it out, but probably left it out because I was so happy with the Man United performance, is that towards the end of the game yesterday and throughout the game yesterday, there was constant chanting about the Glazers leaving Manchester United. And for anybody who's a worldwide fan who has concerns about this will get dropped, it's not going to get dropped. There are some very passionate United fans across the whole fan base that want the Glazers to go. None more so than the match-going fans home and away who will never. They're not going to forget. They're not going to forget just because we won the Carabao Cup. They're not going to forget because Ten Hag is a great manager and these players are doing well. It's gone way beyond that now and the message is very, very clear. So look, it's not even a risk that if we keep playing well and the Glazers stay, it all gets forgotten. There are fans there that have been like this for 17 years. Look, I'd say it's been, if you looked at a graph of Glazer outism, it's probably been a bit like that over the years, but it's never been none. There's always been a Glazer out movement and it's probably never been as big as it's been the last 12 months. So the fans are very clear that the Glazers need to go. And if they don't go, I don't think it will just stop because we start winning trophies again. I really don't. So big, strong message yesterday from the fans in the ground, and they should be applauded for that. Not just for going to watch Man United win a cup final at Wembley, but for actually putting that message out there, which, you know, they sing for themselves, but they also sing for the majority of the fan base as well. So fantastic to hear that yesterday. So where are we on that? I want to get into the West Ham game, of course, but I want to take some of your questions. But the latest we're getting, and this is coming from Mike Keegan, he's put a tweet out about an hour ago. He says, the Manchester United sale update goes like this. Bidders expecting to hear this week whether they've been successful or not. Second offers likely after access to full financials, which they have at the moment. Don't rule out new joint bids. And Sheikh Jazim watched the final in Doha and wears United shirt to play five-a-side. So that's the Qatar bid, of course, which is still very much active. So, I mean, we're over a week now since the bids went in. It was a quiet week last week. This week we're expecting to hear, the bidders are expecting to hear from the club, and then further bids can go back in. And also there's a question there that there may be further bids to come in, joint bids coming in. I mean, all I would say is that who knows what bids we'll get. There's a lot of rich people out there. If you put your car for sale on the drive, all sorts of people are going to turn up and with all sorts of offers. The key thing here is that whoever comes up with the plan that they want a bit of United to keep the Glazers in, they're public enemy number one. I think we spent a lot of time over the last few weeks arguing about whether we should be owned by Qatar, whether we should be owned by Sir Jim, and I've seen positives and negatives to both. Personally, I never saw the issue. I never saw the reason to pick. I didn't see the point to pick because we won't pick, and also they might not be the bids that get hold of United. Whatever issue people have with Sir Jim, whatever issue people have with Qatar, I mean, they pale into significance compared to the person or investors or group that are willing to invest to keep the Glazers in power. I mean, the Glazers are bad for Man United, but I'd almost say, obviously they're not, but I'd almost say if somebody facilitates the Glazers staying in this club, then they're as bad, if not worse, than the Glazers. They are public enemy number one. They're Manchester United fans, public enemy number one. So, I don't know how to say it because it's not a threat. It's a reality. If you are the people that keep the Glazers in power, because they need somebody to do it, if you are going to put up 2 billion to keep the Glazers at Man United, it will become public knowledge. And you might think, let's keep it away from the public until the deal is done. That's the worst thing you could do, because it will become public. You can sign the deal, you can send the check, and the Glazers can be yay. But at some point, the Man United fan base will find out who you are and who's put that money up. And you better be ready to reap that whirlwind, because you are going to get emails, you are going to get people knocking on your door, you're going to get journalists coming for you, you are going to get a lot of hassle for doing something that you clearly didn't understand. You are propping up people who are not wanted, and therefore you become as bad as them. And I just hope whoever is thinking, whatever group, whatever consortium is thinking, if they are thinking about investing in the Glazers, they need to get some good PR and open their eyes, because it's not just a little problem that will go away. You'll regret it. You will regret it big time. And I just hope the people who are thinking about doing it really have researched it. And if they have researched it and they decide to do it, well, they deserve everything they're going to get. But for me, I just, if you're thinking of investing in United, find somebody else to invest in. Don't bloody invest in keeping the Glazers in place. Hi, Mark. Should we have lost the final? Maybe this whole Glazers staying thing could have happened. Don't want the Carabao Cup to the trophy that keeps them, says Love. Nah, I mean, look, in a footballing sense, you should be able to park each side. I want Man United to win games because I think the players deserve it, we deserve it, and Ten Hag deserves it. And but look, I'll pose this question. You know what I think. I'll pose this question, and I'll do a poll on it. Actually, can Ten Hag win? Can Ten Hag win titles under Glazers? Yes or no? And it's an interesting question. And when I say titles as plural, I'm not saying one title, because we could do a Leicester City this year. We could fall into our lap. We could win it. But can we consistently win titles with the Glazers under Ten Hag? And I honestly think no. I think Ten Hag's capable of winning one. I think he could win one. I think he could, it could fall into our lap. We could win one. But can you consistently fight Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool or whoever year in, year out under the Glazers? No, because I know what's going to happen. I saw it with Arsenal. Arsenal had to build a stadium and Wenger had to rely on just getting fourth every year because they didn't have the money. As soon as the Glazers start rebuilding the stadium, you know what? We've already had it. I don't know why people don't know what will happen if the Glazers stay. Dividends, yes. Debt, yes. And challenging market every summer, yes. Our CEO sat in a pub with fans in the summer talking about how challenging it was, and protests damaged the club because of sponsors wanting to pull out, and you've got to give us, some, leeway. That's what you'd have for the next 10 years. Glenny Boy says, if the Glazers are gone by the summer, I hope the Glazers will enjoy all the protests on their doorstep during the summer tour, says Glenny. And Garnacho and Palestri must start against West Ham, says Jude. Well, I'm going to talk about the West Ham game in a moment, of course, but let's just have a quick look here at what people are saying. So 38% think Ten Hag could win titles consistently under the Glazers. 62% say no. Look, we're not denying that Eric Ten Hag's a great manager and he could win a title. I'm just saying he can't. If he can win titles consistently under the Glazers, what's the problem? Apart from the debt and that they don't care about the club. But if he can win the Premier League year in, year out under the Glazers, what's the problem? I don't think Sir Alex could win titles anymore under the Glazers. I think football's moved on. I think the power of Man City Man City was just starting when Sir Alex came to an end. They're too powerful now. Newcastle are going to be too powerful. You ain't going to win at this level without wealth. I've been saying this for years. It doesn't matter. The Glazers need to go. They're bad for football. They're bad for Manchester United. But like it or not, football's about wealth now. And if you haven't got super wealth, you're not going to win. Simple as that. Because if you've got super wealth and you've got a decent manager, you're going to beat a decent manager who hasn't got super wealth. Because it's basically what's happened to Klopp. I think Klopp's a better manager than Pep. I do. I think with an open checkbook, Klopp would have won more titles. But that's the problem. Klopp hasn't got what Pep's got. So it'd be the same with Ten Hag. You're asking him to fight Pep, and Pep without an open checkbook, it'd be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult indeed. But I think he could win one title, but not consistently. It's not good about the bids, Mark, except Avram and Joel, the other 4 Glazers, want to cash out. And if they do get an investor to fund our stadium, they would need to be able to fund them to buy their siblings, says Druv. Yeah, look, the Glazers can only stay by putting the club into debt. That simple as that. I think we all know that. Anyway, let's move across. We can always come back to that. Let's talk about this game against West Ham. This is the preview bit for West Ham, so get ready for this. So Manchester, we're not in the quarterfinals yet. We're going to play West Ham at Old Trafford on Wednesday night, and I think how we approach this game is going to be really interesting. You look at what's been going on over the last 2 months, the relentless games every 3.5 days. We've just won a cup final. You've got the game against Barcelona, the 2 games against Barcelona, not even a distant memory yet. A massive game at Anfield coming up on Sunday. This West Ham game, if we're completely honest, is low priority. However, you look at the FA Cup and you go, hold on a minute, 16 teams left. We're at least second favourite, if not joint first favourite with Man City. Are we scared of Man City? Do we need to be scared of Man City? I don't think so. I think we've beaten Man City with people like Mourinho and Solskjaer, but we've always been the underdog. I look at Man City at the moment, I look at Man United and I go, you know what? If it's at the Etihad, they're probably the favourites. If it's at Old Trafford, we're probably the favourites. I think it's the closest Man United and Man City have been for a long time in relation to looking at the teams and going, yeah, I can't see a difference here. I really don't. I'm not saying they can't beat us, but I think it's a flip of the coin almost. So I think we're joint favourites for this tournament. And because of that, it's another chance to win a trophy. And that becomes an addiction to the players, to the manager, and to the fans. And you look at that and you go, 16 teams left. There's another trophy to be won there. It says all Man City or maybe Spurs. Well, Spurs can't win tea. Spurs couldn't win a cup of tea. They're not going to win it. So it's Man United or Man City who are going to win this. Why not be us? So I'm looking at this West Ham game and I'm going, yeah, it's a bit of an inconvenience because we've got bigger games to come. But then I'm like, we can beat Man City. We can find a way to beat West Ham at Old Trafford. If it's at the old Fairy Liquid ground, then maybe we're in trouble. But it's not. It's at Old Trafford. So I expect to win, and I think Ten Hag will, and I think the players will. Leo J says, I still think Qatar will get the clubs there. A reason why Glazer's been out there so much, plus share prices going up and down. It's time to go, says Leo J. Thank you very much. So, look, I think that we've got to go into this game, certainly with the mentality that we want to win. I'll put my hands up. I'm sure some of you would agree with me that there has been times over the last 2 or 3 weeks where I've looked at this game and gone, don't really care about it. Play the reserves. We've got to get ready for Liverpool and the Europa League. And in order of priority, I'd say at the moment, if we're in a title race, that's the priority. Then it's the Europa League. Then it's the FA Cup. But you look at who's left in the FA Cup and you go, we'd be foolish not to try and win it. I mean, I quite fancy a Wembley Cup final in May against Man City. Bring it on. So if we avoid each other. So I think we've got to go as strong as we can without not being stupid. And that's why I've picked this team. So De Gea in goal, I think it would be silly to put Butland or Heaton in goal for a game like this where, you look at Karius at the weekend. I don't think he makes any mistakes, but I certainly think Pope probably saves the second one. And we don't want to put ourselves in a position like this against West Ham because West Ham could give us a game. And if there's a certain save that De Gea is going to make and we don't make it and we go out, you're like, De Gea doesn't need a break. So I'd play De Gea. Dalot obviously needs to start because, rotation for Wan-Bissaka. We need him for the Liverpool game. Malacia, the same for Luke Shaw. It's risky to play Maguire and Lindelof, and I don't know that we need to, but I certainly think Varane needs the game off. So whether you go Martinez and Maguire or you go Martinez and Lindelof, but I think at the end of the day, at some point you've got to start trusting Lindelof and Maguire and say, look, it's West Ham at home. I trust you, and it gives Martinez and Varane a week off. Again, I don't like the idea of Lindelof and Maguire. It's not our best centre-backs, but I almost feel that, you want players to feel part of things. We saw that on the pitch yesterday, and I think I've not got a problem with it. It's a big risk to play McTominay over Casemiro, but again, do you want Casemiro absolutely chomping at the bit for Anfield? Yes, I do. And I just think, again, if you can't trust, maybe Maguire, Lindelof and McTominay should leave in the summer. Maybe some people don't think they will, but either way, I still think they should be starting games. I totally agree that we need to rotate the whole squad, but I don't think he will, says Elliot. Always seems to pick the strongest team, but players need a rest, says Elliot. Well, I'm only going with what I think. I'm going to give you the alternative in a minute. Munia says, does Casemiro even need a rest? It's not even a rest, Munia. It's more about Why? I think we're beyond rest for some of these players. I think you put them in the shop window, says Joe. Yes, but I think we're almost beyond rest. I think I'm almost saying, what about just avoiding injury? What about avoiding red cards and things like that? Because I tell you what, a red card in a game against West Ham puts you out the Anfield game. So I just think it's not just about injury. It's about, just keeping them safe as well. So I think McTominay, Sabitzer. I mean, Bruno's going to play. I can't. He's the only player that I would go with Bruno. Eriksen's not fit. Whoever's saying that. Bruno will play, so I can't see how Bruno wouldn't play, and I think Sabitzer needs to play. So I'd probably go McTominay, Sabitzer, and Bruno. He might go Fred, Sabitzer, and Bruno, but I think Fred needs a rest as well. He's had 2 big games as well. So the problem is, if you play Fred or you play Casemiro or you play Varane or you play Martinez, you're asking them to play. Remember, Thursday night, Sunday afternoon, and Wednesday. 3 games in 6 days. That's what you're asking. And I know people will say, well, Wednesday to Sunday is quite a big break, but 3 games in 6 days is what we're talking about here, and I don't think some people realise that. Should Sancho play? You could play Sancho at 10, which would give Bruno a rest. You could do that. And I'd be surprised if Sancho doesn't start, but I was trying to figure out where he would start, which is why I think Garnacho's got to start. I think Anthony needs the game time, and I think Rashford needs a break, so Weghorst plays through the middle. But yeah, I mean, I'd be very much open to getting Sancho in the team, and I think Sancho does need to start. So you could start Sancho where Bruno is. But the only reason I didn't do that is that I don't think we can rotate the whole side. And look, that's just my team. I'll guarantee you I'm wrong by about 4 or 5 players, because the person who said it in the chat is absolutely spot on. I don't think for 1 minute he is going to. He's going to pick a team as rotated as that. I think Ten Hag will pick a strong team, and it will be stronger than that. I think absolutely 100% Rashford needs to not start. I thought Rashford against Newcastle had a good few moments, but didn't look anywhere near what he's looked like for the last few weeks. So he's clearly carrying something, and we need Rashford of Barcelona, not Rashford of Newcastle against Liverpool. So Rashford needs a break, because whatever swelling he's got or whatever pain he's feeling, we need that to rest up a little bit. I don't think Martial will be back yet. So really, it's on to West Ham. Now, West Ham had a very good result against Forest at the weekend, but honestly, West Ham at Old Trafford, if we put our strongest team out, we beat them. So it's about how much you can rotate and still beat them. They've got people like Danny Ings who can score goals. They've still got very good players, West Ham. I almost feel they're in a false position, but you're never in a false position at this stage of the season. They are dangerous, but also West Ham are in a relegation battle. And it's the last 16, it's not the quarterfinal, sorry. I think that for West Ham, is the FA Cup a priority? Of course it's not. I mean, they're already in the Conference League themselves. If anything, this FA Cup game might be a bit of a hindrance to David Moyes. So I don't know how strong West Ham would go in this game, but I certainly think I'm looking forward to it, because I think it's another opportunity for Manchester United. And normally I wouldn't be totally excited about the prospect of a few of our first team players not playing, but I think it's a little bit like earlier rounds of the Carabao Cup, where we played a bit of a weakened side or a rotated side. And I think the same thing should happen again here. Would you start Mainu on Wednesday, says Bradley? No. I mean, I want to win, and that sounds really bad, but I don't think Ten Hag will do it, and I wouldn't do it. I think Mainu comes on for 20 minutes. I don't think you go that week. I mean, why don't we start Brandon Williams as well, and Ted and Mengi, and no, like that. That's just basically throwing the towel in, because it's like you're throwing young players in against experienced players. Now Ings is cup tied, so he can't play King. Thank you very much for letting us know that. But I want to win. And I feel that young players, we've seen it with Garnacho and we've seen it with Palestri a little bit. They are really useful, but I'd be very surprised if he was going to start Mainu in a game like this. And it's also about Mainu's development as well. You start him in a game like this, he's up against people like Rice and Soucek, and they, it's physical and they dominate him, and people just have that memory of him. And I think actually the way that Ten Hag's dealt with it is the similar way to Sir Alex. He wants to put them in where in a safe environment where they can be nurtured. And you throw Kobe Mainoo into a team that's got a midfield that's got McTominay and Sabitzer in it. It's not the same as having Casemiro and Bruno in it, is it? So I think with these young players, I've always said this, over the last few years, it's been difficult for young players to come in because the team's just not very settled. It's not safe. It's not a place where you've got confident players to help and protect you. We've got that now. And I think that we've got people who need a bit of game time anyway. Throwing younger players in don't mean you will 100% lose, Mark, says Grace. I didn't say that it did. You got a hangover or something? Sounds a bit you sound a bit irritable to me. I didn't say that. I'm just saying I don't think Ten Hag will do it, and I wouldn't do it because I personally feel that players like that should be coming on with 20 minutes to go or half an hour to go. You shouldn't be starting them in a game expecting them to help us through. I mean, look, if you don't want to win against West Ham, let's make loads of changes. You know, let's play Brandon Williams at right back. Let's play Ted and Menke at centre back. Let's put Tom Heaton in goal. You know, let's put Palestri on the wing. Let's put Alanga up front. I don't want to throw in the towel in this game, despite what I might have said a couple of weeks ago. But you know what that is? At least I can acknowledge it. It's not being a flip flop. It's being greedy. It's being an addict. This is what happens when you win. You get a taste of it, and you want another taste of it. And I think those players will feel the same. I definitely said last week before the Barcelona game, beat Barcelona, win the Carabao Cup, and play the kids against West Ham so we can rest up for Liverpool. After yesterday, I'm like, nah, I want more of that. I want more of that. I want another trophy to lift up. I want it all. I don't want a little bit of that cake. I want all of it. And I don't care who's behind me in the queue. I don't care if they tut. It's like walking into a cake shop, isn't it? And there's one cake that everyone wants a slice of, and there's a big queue. And the person behind the counter says, what cake do you want? And you go, that one. And you go, what? How many slices? No, I want it all. And everyone going, oh, we want a bit. Have you got any more cakes? No, that's the only one. I mean, do you mind just having a couple of slices so they can? Is their money are they going to give you any more money than me? What do you care? Well, I don't. Well, there you go then. Give me the whole cake. I don't care if I throw up eating it down the alleyway. I want it all. Oh, you greedy pig. Up yours. Up yours. I'll eat it in your bloody car in a minute. And that's how I feel. And I think that's how you feel. And I think that's how the players feel. You know, last week we were probably happy with a couple of slices of the cake because, to be honest with you, over the last 6 years we've been living on crumbs. But now we're in the cake shop and we've had a slice. And I want another slice and I want the whole cake. And I don't care who watches. There's no cake left. I want it all. And that's how I feel. And I know I said last week, let's play the kids. But now I'm like, no, I want to win the FA Cup now. I want to win the FA Cup. I want to win the Europa League. I mean, I'd love to win the league. More than anything, I'd love to win the league. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I definitely want to win the FA Cup, especially when you look at who's left in the tournament. I want to play Man City again this year. I want to beat Man City in the cup final. I do. I want it. I want to win. And the thing is, if I feel like that, and some of you feel like that, Prince Alex, welcome to the Members Club, you can guarantee, pound to a penny a shit, that Erik Ten Hag feels exactly the same. He wants to win just like you and me. He's more obsessive than we are. He's not going to look at that game on Wednesday night and go, oh, you know what? We've had a good run. Let's just take it easy. Let's take it easy and let's get ready for the old. Let's get ready for the game against Liverpool at the weekend. He's going to go, oh, there's another trip to Wembley. Another trip to Wembley where I can win a trophy and, you know, do a dance with Anthony and Martinez again. I just think you've got to be greedy. I think you've got to be greedy in a game like this, and I'm certainly feeling that way. So, yeah, let's go for it. Let's absolutely go out there and try and win the game. And if there are certain United players like Maguire and McTominay and Malacia coming into the team, I hope they can deliver because I want to win another trophy, and I'm sure they want to win another trophy. I mean, you look at Harry Maguire; he's probably had the worst season of his career. You know, he starts the season off with, he starts the season off starting centre-back, captain for Man United. Rafael Varane sat on the bench. He starts the season under a new manager and he thinks, I'm the man. We've got this new manager. He's chosen me. Varane's getting splinters on his arse, sat on the bench. I'm Harry Maguire. I'm the captain of this club. You lose to Brighton, you lose to Brentford, you're booted out of the team, and you never really play again. Varane and Martinez become the best centre-back in Europe. Bruno Fernandes becomes the best captain we've probably had since Roy Keane in relation to win ratio. You sat down more than you stood up. But then, yesterday, you just increase your Wikipedia honours page by 100%. So, even when it's going bad, it's going well. Delot, subbed off at half-time in a cup final. He's jumping around, hugging everybody at full time because he's, it's not a negative, it's a positive, and there's a lot of positives there. And I think these players on the fringe are ready to come in. They're buzzing. They're absolutely buzzing. Kane says, who's left in the FA Cup? Man City and Spurs are the best two teams. Newcastle are out. Arsenal are out. Liverpool are out. Chelsea are out. I don't know that Brentford, Brighton or Fulham are still in it, actually. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely on paper, I'd say the three highest ranked teams are Man United, Spurs and City. Brighton are still in it, says Sam. So there you go. I mean, look, you'd fancy it. I mean, Brighton would be a difficult game. Fulham are still in it as well. But Leicester, Southampton, I think, are still in it as well. So yeah, Brighton, Spurs, Man United and City. I mean, you don't want to go out in the last 16. It's quarterfinals. Let's get in there and let's have a go. Michael Talbot says, can Martial play on Wednesday? Well, I want to go to some of your questions now, so let me come back to you. Can Martial play on Wednesday? No, he's not. He's not back yet. Remy Morgan, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. No, Martial's not going to be back for the game. I don't think that Martial will be back for Liverpool. I mean, if correct me if I'm right, and this is where we play a little game. West Ham on Wednesday in the Cup, Liverpool on Sunday in the Premier League, Betis at home on the Thursday. Forget who we've got on the weekend there. Betis away on the following Thursday, then Brighton away, and then it's the international break. But I don't know who we've got in between the two Betis games. I presume it's a home game. I think it might be Southampton, but someone in the chat will know quick. Who have we got between Betis? Someone's going to know. Yeah, it's Southampton at home. I was right. Right, Bridge. Mark, I love the channel. Keep up with the great work. Can't wait for the United stand to come to the USA, says Brandon. Thank you very much. That reminds me, if you didn't watch the video with Ben Foster today, we had a really, really good one. We've still got a few tickets left for Manchester in the international break. 3 weeks tonight at this time, I will be on stage for the Dublin tour. We've got 2 nights in Dublin on the Monday, Tuesday, 3 weeks tonight. And then 3 weeks on Thursday, it's Manchester. And then 4 weeks on Wednesday, it's London. So you can still get the tickets for Manchester and London. We've just over the weekend, we've been planning out the music, what we're going to be doing. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be great. So and also we've just been sorting out the pubs for afterwards, where we're going to do a bit of meeting and greeting and stuff. So it should be really good nights. Links in the description for the English dates. Dublin sold out, but United stand Manchester with Ben Foster in Manchester, and then London. Links are in the chat. Thoughts on Kvaratskhelia, says Abdul, Napoli player. I know who he is. Good player. Don't think he's going to be coming to Man United this summer. Christian says, really think that... and the reason I don't think that is I don't think we're looking for wingers in the summer. From what I was told a few weeks ago, you've got Rashford, you've got Anthony, you've got Sancho, there's Palestri, there's Garnacho, there's Ahmad. Man United feel that they're pretty well stacked on the wide positions. I really think that a huge part of our success is down to the mindset that Ten Hag has bought in, backed up by all signings, have been hungry for success, as Christian. Yeah, I think, Mark, if we win a cup treble, will you give 100 memberships, says Remy. If we win we've won the Carabao Cup. If we win the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup and the Europa League, I'll gift 100 memberships happily, pal. Betis are decent, yeah, but Nabil Fekir has just done his ACL, so their best player arguably is out, so which is very unfortunate for them, but it's not like we haven't had injuries ourselves. What pub are you going to be in Dublin, Mark, says Aaron? I'll tell people at the do. I'm not telling people now, because then people will turn up who aren't going. I'll tell you on the night. Tyrell Malacia is a really good transfer, says Abdullah. Well, just going back to that there, I think that there's many people... I was listening to the radio this morning, and I can't remember who it was who said it. I think it was was a commentator from the game for Talk Sport yesterday, and he was talking about the success of Ten Hag. And you know what he said? He said something like, when you compare Ten Hag era to last year and Rangnick, it's completely different. And I thought, you cheeky git, I cannot stand. There seems to be a problem in the English media that they blame Rangnick for last year. And I'm sorry, I will call it out. Look, I don't care whether you liked Rangnick or not. I thought he was an absolute fall guy to be blamed for everything. He should have been director of football. He never should have been the coach. He should have been director of football. He came in to pick up Solskjaer's mess for 6 months and got absolutely thrown to the slaughter, lamb to the slaughter. His job was not to be an interim. He should have been a director of football. And it pisses me off that last season gets called the Rangnick era, when actually, who started that season, who had all the signings in the summer, and who got no signings in January and had to deal with the other manager's shit? And that Rangnick was basically just, it's like an air freshener on a turd, isn't it? It's still a turd, and it's still going to smell. The contrast here is Solskjaer had 3 years, and now Ten Hag has had 8 months. And that's your difference. What's the difference between Solskjaer's era at Manchester United and Ten Hag? The Rangnick thing is irrelevant. Rangnick basically just got handed something for 6 months that he never should have been given, and had no chance of doing anything because he never had any backing. The club never really told the players to back him, and he never had any transfers either. So the thing to talk about here is, and Patrick says, I absolutely love Casemiro, don't we all? The thing that really... Mark, do you personally count the UEFA Super Cup as silverware so we can still possibly have a treble? Says Desert Haunter. What? We haven't won the Super Cup. What treble are you talking about? The Super Cup's not till next year, mate, if we win the Europa League. We haven't won the Super Cup. You've lost my mind now. But... yeah, so look, what's the difference between Solskjaer's Man United and Erik Ten Hag's United? And we can all say Ronaldo, we can all say the captain, we can all say the style of play, we can all say the coaching, and all of those things have a part to play. But I actually think you can simplify things or you can make things big. And that's what she said. But if I had to pick one thing, and Rangnick, you know what, Solid Blake, Rangnick did speak sense, because what did Rangnick say? Why did Rangnick get kicked out of the club and not be allowed to be a director of football? Because you could sack Rangnick for being a manager, but Rangnick was always going to be the director of football. And then they sacked him for that. They threw him to the Wolves. And the reason they threw him to the Wolves is because he came in and said, this team needs open heart surgery. This team needs 10 signings. Rangnick saw what you saw, and what I saw, and what everyone saw, and what Ten Hag saw. All Ten Hag has done, well, he's done loads, but the most important thing I think Ten Hag did was open heart surgery. Not to the extent that Rangnick said. He didn't buy 10 players, he bought 5. But you look at where those 5 players play. Martinez, centre-back. Casemiro, CDM. Eriksen, centre midfield. Malacia, left-back. And Anthony, left-footed right winger. Malacia gives you competition for Luke Shaw, which we know he always responds to. He also gives you cover for Luke Shaw to go to left centre-back if you want him to. Martinez gives you a left-footed centre-back, which we haven't had for years, and gives you balance at centre-back, as well as being bloody the butcher. Casemiro gives us a CDM, and he's a leader with a CV that is better than anybody's in a position we've not spent on for 5 years. Anthony gives you balance on the front three because he's left-footed. And Eriksen gives you composure and experience in the midfield. He brought a heart to that team. He also got the best out of Varane, who is also in a central position as well. And then he's made Rashford way better, Dalot way better, Wan-Bissaka. The coaching element's there. But what I'm trying to say is, we wouldn't have won the Carabao Cup yesterday if Ten Hag hadn't had money to spend. And the money he's spent, and 4 of those players he's brought in are winners as well. I know Eriksen's CV in relation to trophies wasn't great because he played for Spurs, but he's still an experienced player who knows what he's doing. Casemiro is a born winner. Martinez and Anthony have won things at Ajax. So I think the signings that he made have given personality to that team that wasn't there for Solskjaer. That team with Solskjaer just didn't have that personality. It didn't have that winning mentality. And I mean, Varane was a good signing by Solskjaer, but Sancho's not a winner. He's a young player, isn't he? Maguire wasn't a winner, and we spent £80 million on him. Wan-Bissaka from Crystal Palace wasn't a winner. Dan James wasn't a winner. You know, you look at the money that Solskjaer spent. He spent good money, but he didn't bring in winners, and the team he had wasn't winners. He didn't coach them. He had nepotism where he kept picking the same players all the time. I mean, Ten Hag is almost the opposite of Solskjaer's era in every single way. He does coach players, he does rotate players, he does make changes in the game. He doesn't have favourites. He has brought in winners. But I do think that there are so many levels to what Erik Ten Hag has done at Manchester United. But you can't underestimate the fact that he brought in two players he knew like the back of his hand who could win, Martinez and Antony, and also have got aggressive personalities, which that team needs. He brought Casemiro in. All right, it was at the end of the window, and God knows why that happened at the end of the window. But Casemiro is a born winner as well, and has won everything, and is brilliant. He's got the best out of Rafael Varane, which has made that triangle. You know, teams disappearing. They're like the Bermuda Triangle, aren't they? Casemiro, Varane, and Martinez. Teams attack through that triangle, and the attack disappears. They are the Bermuda Triangle of the footballing world, because no one. They have to go wide. They have to put crosses into the back post, because if they try and attack through there, their attack disappears completely. De Gea's gone up a level as well. Great leadership there. Bruno as a captain. Rashford, as we've said. But yeah, I think the signings that he's made were about characters. We heard about, you know, bad personalities, bad apples. There was this policy that apparently United brought in the summer, which was no knobhead policy, not signing knobheads. Well, I think some of our players that we bought are knobheads to the opposition. You know, they're right shithouses, but they're not knobheads who are out for themselves. They're out for the team, and the team mentality that we've created. I mean, it's almost, you know, it's been spoken about, hasn't it? The back five, you know, Portuguese, Dalot, Martinez, Argentinian, Varane's French, David De Gea is Spanish. Brazil for Casemiro. I mean, Luke Shaw obviously is English, but apart from that, there's a very Latino sort of connection there, and I think they play football in a different way. You know, Argentinians and Brazilians especially, they're very passionate players. You know, I think if we had an English back four giving each other high fives and pumping each other up, we'd probably think it's quite cringy. Which is unfair, really. I think it's just that stiff upper lip that we have maybe in the UK. I don't know. But these lads are just passionate, and we love it. Did you see we signed a good talent from Cardiff? I forget the name, Kevin, but I did see Fabrizio talking about it earlier. I think is he 17 or something? 2006? So, yeah, 17. Mark Rangnick may be a director of football, but he's also not a bad manager. But his methods were too intense for the team at the time. They stopped playing for him, says SK. Look, we don't want to go back into a Ralph Rangnick masterclass of what went wrong and what went right. But in many ways, it's Graham Potter magnified, isn't it? I think Rangnick's a good coach, but I don't think you can bring a coach like that in December with no pre-season and no January transfer window. And, you know, let's be honest, the dressing room was absolutely toxic before Rangnick came in. It was a recipe for disaster. As I say, Rangnick's appointment was basically like throwing a lamb to some hungry wolves. He got torn apart from all sides. Mark, I've worked out what Weghorst is. He's like adding corn flour to soup. It's not the main ingredient or adding flavour, but it will add a bit of body. I like that, Nick. I like that a lot. Look, Weghorst is not good enough to play for Manchester United. We all know that. But we all like him because it's all we could get. And Ten Hag picked him. And he gives everything. And he's living the dream and he's working his arse off. And actually, if we didn't have him, we'd have nobody. So I think Ten Hag has pulled a masterstroke with Weghorst. I think the fans have all taken to Weghorst and we all like him. But we all know he's not good enough. And he probably knows he's not good enough. And Ten Hag probably knows he's not good enough. And when I say not good enough, he's not good enough to start. I think he's good enough to be on the bench for us, but I don't think he's good enough to start. But ultimately, we know he's going to give everything, and we know he's all we've got, and we're all happy with that. So, you know, I almost hope that he does well enough to get a contract and just stay part of the squad. I mean, I know it's a bit of a charity, but I almost feel like he could be here for the next 3 years as a bench player that just comes on every now and again for 10 minutes or plays in a Carabao Cup game. It's I don't mind having an option like that, but at the moment we need him to start. I mean, we do, and I love the fact that he's liked, and I love the fact that he gives everything, and I think he's I wouldn't say it's been a revelation, but I'd certainly say he's helped us out this last month. Imagine how it would have gone if Erik ten Hag came in and openly said we need to sell 10 and buy 10. I can't work with Ronaldo, do the work and not talk openly about it. Diplomacy is needed, and Rangnick shot himself in the foot, says True Football. I loved Rangnick's press conferences, as you know, but yeah, you're probably right. You are probably right. I love his passion and energy, says Raj about Weghorst. Marvin says he's a humble guy. Are you happy we got Weghorst over Gakpo or Felix? Well, I wouldn't go that far. And I think the most important thing is that if you spoke to Erik ten Hag, if he'd rather have João Felix or Gakpo over Weghorst, he would definitely say Gakpo or Felix, because they're the two players that he wanted. But we are where we are. We're not going to get Weghorst. We're not going to get Gakpo or Felix. We've got Weghorst, and I think it's remarkable what these players have done. And I think, as I say, it's as much as I'm tired and a little bit blurry from yesterday, I'm excited about what's to come, and I'm greedy, and I am, and I think the players will be as well. We've basically overachieved already, haven't we? I mean, I want to sort of change the word, because I said yesterday we've got top four and we've got a trophy. We've basically achieved everything we want to achieve. I didn't think we would do that in our first season. I didn't think it was possible to get top four and win a trophy in any Man United's first season after what we had last year. I think we've overachieved already, but that doesn't mean that we can't keep going. And I'd actually be very disappointed, as I said this morning, if we just won the Carabao Cup and got top four. We might end up with that. That might be what we do. But I think there's still a lot of football to be played. I'd be gutted if we didn't get to another final. I think the FA Cup or the Europa League, I think we've got to get to one of those finals. And as for the Premier League, I'm sort of like, I think it's a cup final on Sunday at Anfield. I don't think we'll win the league. I don't know what anyone else thinks. I don't think we'll win the league. I think we can win the league. I think we're capable of it, but I don't think we will. I think we're probably coming from too far behind to try and do it. And I look at some of our fixtures, and we have got some tough games. I think we've got to go to Brighton. We've got to go to Spurs, I think. Obviously, we've got to go to Anfield. There's somewhere else we've got to go away as well, which isn't particularly easy. But having said that, there has been. I'm interested to see how many points we get this season, because I think the minute you go over 70 points, we got 59 points last year. That's how bad last season was. We've got 59 points. How many points have we got at the moment? Someone tell us. Well, we got 59 points last year. I think the minute you go over 70 points, it becomes a really good season for United compared to recent years. I don't think we can win the league, but I tell you what, I'd love us to post 80 points. I mean, we haven't done that for a while. I'd love to hit 80 points, and I think that's got to be a target. But yeah, I think in relation to the league, you beat Liverpool on Sunday, which is a big ask. As bad as Liverpool are, that's a result they'll be bending over backwards to stop from happening. So, but if you go to Anfield on Sunday and you win, I think Man City and Arsenal suddenly go, shit, we've got to play each other as well. They're breathing right down our neck. They're probably the in-form team this calendar year. But it's a big ask to do it. And even if we do win at Anfield, we're still not favourites. We're still not really in the race. We're just waiting for them to drop points. But I think it will. That's the one Ten Hag will look at in relation to the league. If we can win at Anfield, I think he'll suddenly start to think, what can happen here? Watching Velt living his best life at full time, just staring at the fans, can't help but like the guy, be a good squad player and a different option. You know what, Andy Cheetham? I've just realised something. Let me just read these next two super chats and I'll come back to it. Thank you for your content. I wish our back four high five or chest pump Weghorst for his defensive work during the match. Yeah, he does deserve some of those high fives, doesn't he? Last thing, Ralph Rangnick was brought in as an interim. Had he been a permanent manager, he would have had more power like Erik ten Hag. No one cared to listen to an interim, says SK. The mistake we made with Rangnick was that he should have been given the job he was meant to be getting. No, what he did as an interim never should have seen him being sacked. He was brought in to come in and help rebuild the club, and that's the most disappointing thing with him. But what Andy Cheetham said about Weghorst there, when he was sort of kneeling down looking at the crowd sort of like this, I watched him do it yesterday and I thought, deja vu. There's something about that was just familiar. And I remembered what it was. And everybody's got these moments, and hopefully you will get these moments anyway. But it reminded me of when and look, it's a different level for Weghorst, but I can imagine how he felt a little bit. When I managed the Sidemen charity game, and that was 30,000 people at Charlton Athletic, and it was full, I had a couple of moments where I was sort of like on the touchline, and I sort of looked all around the crowd, and I was like, what's going on? Personally, I was like, what's going on? And we've got 15,000 people watching now. So if you put you in a stand in an arena, I'd look at it and go, wow, I don't appreciate how big this community is. But when you stood there in front of something like that, it does make you go, wow. Now imagine you're playing in Turkey, you get the call to come to Man United, and within 6 weeks you are sat there in front of how many does Wembley hold? A cup winner. And whilst I had a little bit of a glimpse of it, that's magnified by 1,000. He's just sat there living his best life going, what's happened to me over the last 6 weeks? I've played in the Nou Camp, I've knocked Barcelona out, and now I've just won a trophy at Wembley for Manchester United. And fair play to him, fair play to him. And I think Weghorst is you know what Weghorst is? Is the opposite of probably some of the criticised players we've had at United for the last 3 years, because Weghorst is limited. Weghorst is slow. Weghorst is quite clearly not good at certain aspects of football. But do people really get on his back? Do United fans get on his back? No. Because he contributes. Because he works hard. And because he's made a difference over the alternatives, which were, let's be honest, almost non-existent. And it just shows you might not be the best player in a Man United shirt, but there's certain things you can do that will get you a pass. And I think Weghorst has done that. Ten Hag has created competition for spots, moves players to new positions, rewards consistency, punishes complacency or egos, speaks sense to the press, and has instilled a winning mentality. It's amazing, says Juiced. And gun to your head, would you rather Liverpool surpass your 20 title haul or Man City win the treble, says Narish. Liverpool can have the 20 titles, Narish. I don't want anybody to do the treble. I'm very protective of the treble. So remember, Man City can still do the treble, by the way. I mean, you've just made a great point. You just made a very, very good point. We should not be giving up on this FA Cup, because the FA Cup we're in control of. We can't stop Man City winning the Champions League, and we can't stop them winning the league. And you look at that FA Cup, I can't see anybody else winning it other than Man City or us. So we do. You've just. I mean, not that I didn't want to beat West Ham on Wednesday anyway, but I tell you what, you've sharpened my spidey senses here. We have absolutely got to win on Wednesday, because we've got to stop Man City winning the FA Cup. Because people will say they're not going to do the treble. They could easily win the Prem, and God knows what can happen in the Champions League. And if we go out, then they'll win the FA Cup. So yes, you're absolutely correct. Get that on an email to Eric Ten Hag. We've got to stop them winning any chance of the treble. Sumya says, if we win against West Ham, then Brighton game on the 19th will be postponed for the FA Cup quarter-final, says Sumya. Really? I didn't know that. Any plans for a podcast, Glazer Out, says Paul D. I'm not going to do a podcast called Glazer Out, but I am going to do a podcast. I'm working on some ideas at the moment. Let me just have a look at these FA Cup quarter-final dates. No, quarter-final, yeah, it is that weekend. So Brighton would get rearranged. You're right. You're absolutely correct there. Well done. I didn't realise that. So when's the FA Cup draw then? I thought the quarterfinals were in April. So some very good comments coming in tonight. Very good comments coming in tonight. Brentford game has to get rescheduled as well. Yeah. Well, it was funny. I was talking to, I think it was Ricky was saying it, that saw Ericsson yesterday, and he's got his plaster off. So he might be back sooner than we thought. But no, I think the FA Cup draw might be on Wednesday night. Because there's no weekend games. So yeah, be interesting. I'm having some good chats about a podcast. I've been working on it for a while, and they've got quite a few options. Quite a few people have approached us about stuff. So all I want to do is make sure it's the right idea. I was saying to Ben Foster today, the last thing I want to do is another podcast about the weekend's results. I just don't. I mean, I always do that. I do that on the Football Fill-In, and I enjoy it. So I wouldn't want to step on Fozzie's toes, but I don't. I've had so many offers. Why don't you just do a podcast on a Monday about the weekend's games? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Everybody does that. Somehow I can't see Ten Hag ever going on a Pep or Klopp style press conference rant. Although give him a few years in the Prem and he might, says Nick P. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Goldcast, says Just Kevin. The Chelsea game is same weekend as the FA Cup semis, says Glennie. You know what? We've got to win on Wednesday. Then we'll be in the FA Cup draw and the Brighton game will get rearranged. It makes me want to throw up the amount of games that we're going to have to schedule in. But, I still it gives me sort of flashbacks to December when I was saying, this season we're going to get screwed over by the World Cup. We can't keep playing a game every 3.5 days. But we seem to have defied that logic. But, yeah, if we win on Wednesday, we've already got Brentford that we've got to rearrange. We'd have Brighton to rearrange. If we win on the weekend of the quarterfinals, we'll have another Chelsea game to rearrange. I mean, where we're going to fit these games in? I always said, I think there's a possibility that if we keep winning, there will be times in April and May where we have to play Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It will get that stupid because I don't know how we're going to be. I remember somebody saying at the start of January, you can already map out midweeks until the end of the season, and there's not many for Man United, which is why we played those games against Palace and Leeds, because we needed to get them out of the way. I can't be asked to look at it now, but basically, we've already got Brentford to rearrange. If we've got to rearrange Brighton, and then we've got to rearrange Chelsea if we go deep in the FA Cup, I don't know where those games will come from. And like Jakob says, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, are you mad? I don't know. I don't know how we'll do it. But look, it'd be a nice problem to have. But we might not get to that point, of course. But we'll see. The team's hungry, we're hungry, and we want success. That's what it's all about. Thanks everyone for watching. Of course, we've got a game in 48 hours. We've got an Erik Ten Hag press conference tomorrow. Lots to get involved in. Please do smash a like and subscribe. Great to be doing a live show with you all. Loved it. And hi, Mark. Do you think us winning any other trophy will be shooting ourselves in the foot and motivate the Glazers to stay? Look, we need to get the Glazers out, Ram. We need to get the Glazers out. They need to go. I don't know what their plan is, but I hope they're going to go. Don't forget, get your tickets for Manchester. Me and Ben Foster, United Stand on tour and London. Links in the chat for that. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Thanks for spending the evening with me. I really enjoyed the show.